So for taping dogs' ears, what I use for the inside of the ear is called Pro Select 3/4 inch closed cell backer rod, which is found at Lowe's. They have the 3/4 inch width, and then they have the smaller version, which is the Frost King Polyfoam Caulk Saver 1/2 inch foam. Both work, but in this video I'm going to show you how to tape with a 3/4 inch backer rod. If you're using the 1/2 inch foam for puppies or smaller dogs, make sure that you fold it in half and then tape it together tightly to itself. It works just as well, and it works well for puppies. The kind of tape I use is cloth tape, and it can be found at Walmart, CVS, or Walgreens pretty easily. For this video, I'm going to use the tape that's from CVS. When cutting the tape, you want to make sure that you make at least 10 strips of tape, anywhere from 6 to 8 inches long. I usually don't measure it, I usually kind of just do it. It doesn't matter if it's too long, you just don't want to make it too short. Two pieces should be slightly longer than the rest because the longer pieces will be used at the base of the ear since the bottom of the ear is bigger. But remember that you want to do everything in doubles because you're taping 2 ears. Each ear needs about 5 pieces of tape if you tape correctly, but also keep in mind that your dog may need more or less tape depending on the length of the ear that you got. The length of the crop I had done requires 5 pieces of tape per ear. After I get the tape ready, I then move on to getting the foam ready. I typically just guess at the length because I've been taping for so long, but since this is a tutorial video, I'll show you how to measure the foam correctly to get the right length. This foam is slightly too wide for the base of this puppy's ear, so I'm going to cut about 1/3 of the foam off at the end so it fits nicer in her ear. I then round off the edges. Now for adult dogs, this foam width actually works perfectly, but this puppy's ears are so small because she's only 10 weeks old, so I just want her to be a little more comfortable. To take the tape off, you need the back of the puppy's head. When cutting the tape, you want to make sure that you're cutting closer to the incision side, because if you cut towards the other side of the ear where the fold is, you risk cutting the ear where the fold is. I cut the tape on the back of the ears towards the side where the incision is and cut all the way up the ear until the scissors come out of the tape. You then want to turn the puppy around and pull the tape off from the front. I get the tape free from the incision side first, and then I pull off the tape from the other side. It doesn't hurt the puppy if you tape the ears the way that I do. Normally the tape isn't even actually touching the ear because I do toilet paper on the back of the ear so that the tape's not sticking to the hair, so it doesn't hurt at all. You just need the puppy to sit still while you cut it off. I actually forgot the peroxide for cleaning the ears, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I use hydrogen peroxide and toilet paper or cotton balls or those little circle cotton like pads to clean the insides of the ear before retaping. This would also be a good time to give the puppy a bath. You never want to leave the ears untaped for any longer than 30 minutes at a time, though, for the first month or so of taping. Because once the ears start to droop between tapings, you've messed up, and you essentially have added more time to the taping process in the long run, which sucks. So keep them taped as long as possible. You basically just want to clean the ears well enough to where you get all the sticky stuff and gunk out of the ear and out of the base of the ear and just make sure everything's nice and clean. It's not hard at all and doesn't take any time. Okay, so when measuring the length of the ear for the foam, have your partner hold the puppy still for you while you measure the length of the ear. To measure the length of the ear, stick the foam as far into the puppy's ear as possible, and then measure the ear up to the foam and cut the foam just slightly longer than where the ear stops to give you a little bit extra to work with. Either do this twice or cut the other piece of the foam the same length as the one you just cut. Essentially, the ears should be the same length as long as you went to a good vet. Make sure to cut the third off of the bottom of the other second foam piece if you did it to the first one. And to get the foam ready, you need to reverse tape the foam piece. To do this, you need to stick the tape to the foam and then turn the foam towards you so that the sticky side of the tape is facing outwards. It'll stick to itself, so just make sure you overlap it just a little bit every time. Make sure you cover the whole foam piece with the sticky tape facing outwards, and then do the same thing to the other piece of foam. The reason you want the sticky side to be facing out is because this foam piece will be sticking to the inside of the ear and what will be holding the ear up. After getting the foam ready, you then need to cut the tape for the bridge. So cut about 1.5 feet of tape. That's just an estimate. You may need to cut some off. And then cut 3 4-inch pieces of tape for the bridge. You'll also need to cut a foam piece for the between the ears, but I'll do that later when the time comes. Okay, so have your partner hold the puppy's head facing you and have your partner cover the puppy's eyes because this keeps the puppy a little bit more calm. I don't know why, but for some reason, when you cover a puppy's eyes, they just calm down a little bit. Actually, one of my dogs will straight up fall asleep sitting up while you're taping her ears if you cover her eyes. I don't know what her deal is. Anyway, you're going to need 2 squares of toilet paper to cover the incision side of the ear because this keeps the incision and the stitches from getting stuck to the tape. It makes it easier to get the tape off as well when untaping the ears. So fold the 2 squares in half and then fold them in half again. And that's what we're going to use for the ears. And of course you're going to need to do this twice because there's 2 ears. So go ahead and repeat that process a second time and then we'll be ready to tape the ears. Okay, so now we're ready. Stick the foam piece inside of the ear and stick it as far down as you possibly can. You want to make sure that the foam will not come out of the ear when the puppy shakes their head because all puppies do. Don't worry about damaging the puppy's eardrums or anything like that because dogs' ears are made a little bit differently than ours and you can't hurt them with sticking the foam piece or sticking Q-tips into the ear straight down. It's not going to hurt them, it's not going to damage them. You just want to make sure that the foam won't come out. Once you get the foam piece firmly in the ear, press the ear onto the sticky foam. Make sure that your partner does not let the puppy shake their head while you're grabbing the other supplies. You then need to grab the toilet paper, and the toilet paper needs to cover as much of the back of the ear as possible so that the tape is sticking to the toilet paper and not to the ear. This makes it so much easier to untape. You need to make sure that the toilet paper is touching just enough of the sticky foam to where it will stick and cover the stitches or incision. But it also needs to be around the back of the ear. Grab a piece of tape and stick the end of it to the foam piece. You want to press the tape onto the ear in the direction of the fold. You do not want to fold the tape in the direction of the incision. Always go in the direction of the other ear. You want to put the tape as low as possible on the ear so that you help the foam stay in place in the base of the ear and not be able to come out when the puppy shakes. Have the tape go all the way around the ear and stick to itself. And then grab another piece of tape and do the same thing, but slightly overlap the other piece of tape. Continue doing this until you've covered the whole ear. Just make sure that the toilet paper is still covering the back of the ear every time you do a new piece of tape. When taping around the ear, make sure that you're not taping too tightly, but also not too loosely either. If you tape too tightly, you can actually cut off the circulation of the ear and kill the ear. So tape cautiously and then press the tape onto the ears when you've taped up the whole ear. Go ahead and repeat this exact same process for the other ear, but make sure that you're taping in the opposite direction so that you're taping towards the other ear where the fold is and not towards the incision. You need to tape exactly the same with the foam, the toilet paper, and the tape. So go ahead and do this, and then we can do the bridge after that. As you can see, I actually made the second piece of foam a little bit too long, so I'm going to have to cut a little bit off. If that happens to you, you can safely cut the extra off because you can see and feel the ear through the tape. So just make sure that your finger is on the edge of the ear so that you don't cut the ear. After you've taped both ears, you then need to cut the foam for the bridge between the ears. You need to measure the distance between the ears with the foam and cut the foam to the length where the ears are standing straight up, parallel, but just ever so slightly outwards. Make sure that the foam is long enough that the ears are not going to fold inwards towards each other. If the bridge is too short, it can actually mess up the ear set of the dog's ears, and they would look really ugly because they'd be folding in towards each other instead of standing straight up. It's safer to go just slightly outwards, if not straight up. Make sure your partner is holding the puppy while you're still measuring the tape for the bridge. The puppy needs to stay absolutely still for the bridge to be done properly. My partner was not cooperating very well with keeping the puppy still. The puppy's face needs to be held still, and you still need to be covering the eyes to help keep the puppy calm. Once you get the foam to the right length, you need to reverse tape the foam just like you did with the other foam so that the sticky side of the tape is on the outside. You then place the foam in between the ears and tape from one ear to the other ear, sticking the tape to the foam piece in the middle and then back around to the other ear. You want to make sure that the tape ends on the foam piece and not the ear. Grab the 4-inch pieces of tape and put the tape under the bridge, around the bridge, and back under the bridge until the tape stops, and then press it firmly to the foam piece in the middle. You want to cover the whole bridge so that the tape you went around the ears with for the bridge stays when the dog shakes their head, because the dog is going to when you're done taping the ears anyway. Once you're finished with the bridge, you're done. You only need to tape about every 5 or 6 days unless the puppy gets dirty or wet. But make sure that if the puppy does get wet and the ears get wet, you untape them immediately so the dog doesn't get infected. Anyways, thanks for watching, y'all. I hope you guys learned something. If you have any questions, feel free to leave comments and I'll definitely answer them. All right, thank you.